Now let's go into another story here about Adobe, and we'll talk about how that relates to blockchain as well in just a moment, because I think there we see a very good use case for blockchain when we see an issue right there. But first of all, let's go into this article that basically talks about that Adobe plans to add AI video generators, Sora, Runway, and Pika Labs to Premiere Pro, which is pretty amazing. So today, I believe it was yesterday, so yeah, a day ago or something like that, Adobe announced it aims to update Premiere Pro to add plugins to emerging third-party AI video generator models, including OpenAI's Sora and Rivals Runway ML's Gen 2 and Pika 1.0. So it positions the company as a source of trusted AI tools and products. We'll go into the Firefly stuff in just a moment, but this is Adobe really setting up to become a very, very big player in the whole AI space with their models. So I believe this is huge what Adobe is doing here. And Adobe is definitely seeing the signs of time, going, not fighting against it, but going with it and setting themselves up to become a huge, huge player in the field of generative AI. And they also integrate their own Firefly model, but Adobe, again, this is just announced that they plan to do that. Sora is not even out yet. Nothing is fixed yet. They just plan to do that. This is all they are saying. But for me, it really shows where Adobe is going and that they really go with the time. And I believe they have the right idea about what they are doing. So as I was saying here, they also plan a Firefly text-to-image generator model will be coming to Premiere Pro with generative extent, which lets video editors and filmmakers seamlessly add frames to make clips longer. Firefly for Video will also ensure Premiere Pro users can perform intelligent object detection and removal. And finally, Firefly for Video will also ship with a text-to-video image generator, which is huge. So Adobe is basically building their own amazing AI video tool, and they're also planning to have plugins for all the other tools. Pretty cool in my opinion. Now, up here, a few caveats here. Obviously, no timetable has been set for when Adobe would integrate these third-party AI video generators into Premiere Pro, and the details don't seem fully ironed out quite yet. For now, it just seems, well, an announcement. We want to do that, but no real details. Especially since many of these third-party tools require paid subscriptions after a few initial preview video generations, or, in the case of Sora, are not even publicly available. So yes, great idea, sounds amazing, but there are no details, and it sounds like a little bit of a hype article that has no fundamental details yet, but it still sounds pretty cool, in my opinion. But now the thing that I really want to talk about is down here. The trained on data it owns or has licensed has rights to use, such as Adobe stock image contributor content, to the charging of some Adobe stock photographers and artists. And this is where we want to get into now, because this is where also I believe blockchain could be an amazing future use case. So if we go over here, and I believe most of you have heard about this. So Adobe stock creators aren't happy with Firefly, the company's commercially safe Gen AI tool, because they basically used their art without asking them. So Adobe trained Firefly on their stock images without express notification or consent. No notification, no consent. So they say they're using our IP to create content that will compete with us in the marketplace, he said. Even though they may legally be able to do that because we are all signed the terms of service, I don't think it is either ethical or fair. He said he didn't receive any notice that Adobe was training an AI model. I don't recall receiving an email or notification that said things are changing and that they would be updating the terms of service, he said. The ethical thing to do would have been to pre-notify the Adobe stock artists about the Firefly AI training and offer them an opt-out option right from the beginning. And I tend to agree with that would be the ethical thing to do for sure. But we also want to look at the other side, and I found this sentence quite interesting. As I understand it, they are saying we are fine with the stock images being used for someone to buy and iterate on in Photoshop, but if it's used as a data set for generative AI, somehow there's an issue, and we are being ripped off. Right? This is a bit of a double-edged sword there, because hey, you can use it in Photoshop for whatever you want and do with it whatever you want, but not for the AI model. Still, it's Adobe, the company, and there should have been a notification and an option to opt out. I believe also this would have been the fair and ethical thing to do. Now, still Adobe, I would say this is mainly just a marketing stunt, but they are trying. Still, they are trying, and I give them that. As you can see here, Adobe remains committed to compensating creators. As Firefly is in beta, we will provide more specific on creator compensations once these offerings are generally available. Now, I believe they're already out, but I have not found a lot about them. There are compensations for people whose images have been used to train, but I don't know how huge they are or what actually is happening. And what I really want to talk about, and after that I address the chat again, but what I really want to talk about is how blockchain could solve this issue that is happening right now. How could blockchain solve that? Think about that yourself for a second. And if you have not seen my video about Industry 4.0, how blockchain and AI leading Industry 4.0, you maybe want to watch that, because there I talk about it as well. Now, imagine all of these images that have been created would have been on the blockchain as NFTs or whatever. Like, they don't need to be worth millions of dollars or like have huge transaction costs, stuff like that, but simply as an NFT, which means, hey, yes, ownership belongs to this person. That's all what an NFT says. Yes, ownership belongs to this person. If now someone trains a model with these images, you can always see where the image comes from. So you can always pay royalties to that person. Now, even if Adobe themselves doesn't pay any royalties, let's say they train a model on these images that they have in their stock library, and you can always follow where this image comes from, and then the model is used to generate another image, and this image is then sold. You know what can happen? Because you can follow how this image has been generated. You can split up and see how much percentage of what image was used to generate the new image. And like this, you could make a kickback or royalty for the original creator. Of course, most of the time this will be mere cents or not even cents. But still, overall, with the huge use of these AI-generated images, I believe there still would be a reasonably kickback for the original creators of the image. And this would be possible with blockchain, because you could see where does the image come from, how much of the percentage of that image is used for this newly generated image, and then when this newly generated image is sold somewhere, the original creator of the original image gets a small kickback. I think that's an amazing use case for blockchain. Right? What are your thoughts about that? I believe we wouldn't have this whole discussion, we wouldn't have this whole issue if all of this would be on a blockchain, because you can always see where an image comes from and who owns the image, where the image originated.